I found my old gloves in this box and I was looking everywhere for them. Anyways, that was a fun little discovery. So welcome back to the food forest. If you're just joining me on the first time today, over the past few videos, we've been building out this space. This is the start of a brand new food forest. In fact, in the last video, some of the fruit trees that you see in this bed behind me, we planted them in the ground. In fact, we planted 7 fruit trees as sort of a starter kit for our food forest that we're developing here. But today we're doing something a little bit different. Today we're planting annuals, we're planting vegetables. And the reason for that is because one of the things I saved you the pleasure of watching me do is dig out and plant, or dig out and prepare this entire garden bed right in the front here. Now, I try to show you as much as possible when I'm making these videos. I didn't want to show you digging out and you know, preparing this entire garden bed behind me, just because it's a large one and it took me about 2 days to do this. Don't worry though, in a future video, in fact probably in the next video, unless I come up with something in between, we're going to be going back. We're going to be doing some interesting work right over here. I'm going to dig one of the same style of beds that I did down there, so I'll show you the process and how I did it and all that stuff, even though it's pretty simple. But also what we're going to do in a future video, this is just a little bit of a spoiler alert, is we're going to be sort of terracing and doing something cool with strawberries on this little berm bed over here. But today it's a little bit different. Today we're going to be going through and actually filling this garden bed right here with life. One of the main things that we're trying to do in building this food forest is prepare all of the soil underneath this. We're trying to turn this entire landscape around us into something beautiful, into something fertile, and into something that will produce large amounts of food. It honestly doesn't even matter what it is. You just want to fill these beds with life. You want to get plants stringing their little roots into that nice fresh soil, and it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and let's pop some seeds into this thing. I'm going to show you what seeds I'm sowing it's July here in North Carolina. So I placed an order a few weeks ago from, there it is on the side, from True Leaf Market. One of the visions that I had when I started putting this food forest together is I wanted everything to be really kind of organic and random. And it's not like I'm not going to have like rows of vegetables within the beds, but I want to sort of avoid the whole like rows and organization type aspect of it. I want to still group seeds together, but I want to have everything a little bit more wildly placed. So I've never actually grown corn before, so this is going to be a first experience for me. And this is some sweet corn, some Inspiration Hybrid Z-Maize. And like I said, we're gonna try and keep everything really random within this garden bed here. So I think what I'm gonna do with these corn seeds is maybe kind of group them just right up, maybe a little like patch right in the center right there. And then maybe another little patch right over there. But honestly, it doesn't really matter where I put these things. Really what I'm trying to do at this point is just sort of break into the process, sort of break in, did I say that at the right time? Break in to my first seed packet. I'll of course show you some of the seeds in there. I'm not going to have a real specific thing to show you to do here. I'm just going to show you what I know how to do, and that is to sort of just dig little trenches and pop a couple seeds in there. I'm just kind of finding random spots to throw seeds. So we've planted our seeds, we've covered them up a little bit with some soil. We've got everything pretty much ready for Mother Nature to kind of take control of. Hold on, I got some sweat in my eye. But there's one more thing that I want to do before we move on from this little patch of sweet corn that we made here. And that is that we want to add a little bit of fertilizer just on the surface of where we planted all of these all of these corn seeds. In fact, we're going to use a little bit of fertilizer on top of everywhere that we plant any seeds. Now, the one that I'm using is from Down to Earth. It is a all-natural vegetable garden fertilizer. You can't see it because the sticker's ripped off, but it's a 4-4-4. So I always learned that the thing to use on your new vegetable plants is a 5-5-5 fertilizer, or whatever you can find that's kind of close enough to that 5-5-5. So this is what I'm using, is this 4-4-4 fertilizer from Down to Earth. And then everywhere that I planted this corn, I'm just gonna kind of put a little dusting of this stuff. The best part of this granular fertilizer is that it breaks down over time. So it's not necessarily going to start adding nutrients and all of that stuff to the soil around the new seeds that we plant right away. But what it's going to do is, after those plants kind of spring out of the earth and start to spread their little leafy wings and collect sun and all of that stuff, it's going to start breaking down. It's going to add nutrients as the plants grow. So I did mention that we're also going to plant a few corn seeds right in that little area over there. Let's get over and do it. About 1 inch deep. It's about the same for almost every vegetable. And we just want to make a nice little patch right here in the front. And now we're going to move on to this little front section right here. We've got some zucchinis, which we've already got over here. So maybe let's focus on these zucchini plants. And I brought a couple of random zucchini plants that I had growing over there. They're not looking too good or anything like that. But what I want to do is I want to plant some other zucchini seeds just kind of in like a little circle right around our existing plants over there. Okay, I'm also not sure if you saw my zucchini planting over there because my camera keeps overheating in this 95-degree North Carolina weather. Why did I decide to come out here at 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon and start planting the bed when the sun is at its hottest? I don't know, but it's when I had time to get out here and start to do it. So nonetheless, but what we're going to plant next is some carrots and some celery. Carrot seeds are extra tiny, so they come in a bag within a bag. Let me make some little dots with my fingers everywhere that we're going to place these seeds, just to kind of get a visual reference. But again, remembering that we are going for random here. So I think I'm just going to do just a little row of carrots right there. And you can barely see them. I don't know if you can see them at all in there. We'll get just a few of these on each. I actually made a mistake, and these weren't carrots that we planted in this first row. They were the celery. I wanted to do the celery in the back because it's a little bit taller, but in the name of randomness, we made a mistake. We put the celery in the front row. So we'll put these carrots right here in the back. And then naturally throw some more fertilizer on. Just a healthy amount of fertilizer over every one of these little holes that we planted. Gotta say that spreading the fertilizer definitely helps determine where we've already put the plants. And let's plant something else. Let's see. So we've got some red onions, some white sweet Spanish onions, and some super sweet Texas onions going into the garden. Maybe sort of in that back section, right over there somewhere. In fact, I'll see you over there. I've actually decided to go with the hand seeding method to do these onions, just because the seeds are a little bit tiny. And it's just easier to get them in the hole. Don't worry about just kind of rinsing your hands of all the extra seeds back into your bed. It's random, and that's how it's supposed to be. Next up is going to be one of my favorite vegetables of all time, and that is cauliflower. And then what we're going to do with this cauliflower is, again, we're just going to kind of follow the line of the bed that we've created and make a little front row right in the front here. And there you can kind of see the little divots that I dug that we're going to put our cauliflower in. Now, one thing that I do want to mention about this bed that I built over here is I did my very best to get about 8 to 10 inches of just a really good quality garden soil in here. So I tried to I tried to fill in all of the areas as deep as I can, and I was aiming for that sort of like 8 to 10 inch depth mark. Let's take a look at our cauliflower seeds. They kind of look like cracked pepper, if you think about it. And since I've been using the hand method, let's go ahead and get just a couple of these seeds in per hole. So that was yet another one of my July crops that I'm planting here in North Carolina, Zone 8B, is cauliflower. And the reason I'm planting cauliflower is simple, because cauliflower is probably my favorite vegetable in the whole world. And with that said, let's move on to a new vegetable. Next up is going to be another one of my favorite vegetables, Brussels sprouts, because I love cabbages and Brussels sprouts. And Brussels sprouts are simply mini cabbages. And if you know me, if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, I love pretty much anything mini. In fact, I'm mini. The funny thing is that Brussels sprout seeds almost look identical to cauliflower seeds. In fact, I've noticed that a lot about seeds. They all a lot of them will look really similar. Just fertilizing my Brussels. And have I mentioned how stinking hot it is out here? I try not to complain about the heat, and I enjoy the sweating. In fact, that's one of the things I like most about gardening. But the main thing is that my stinking camera keeps shutting down. So did I mention that cauliflower was my favorite vegetable? Because I might have been lying, and I didn't realize till I found my packet of organic cherry bell radishes. Now this, my friends, is a vegetable. Peppery, juicy, refreshing. There's just nothing better than I can say about some fresh radishes. I want a lot of radishes. So I think that little patch should do it, or maybe I should add, let's not add any more over by the peppers, because I'm going to put some of those jalapenos right in there. Let's add a couple more on the side right here, just because we love radishes so much. Let's get these radishes in the hole. One thing I didn't really mention is I'm not really aiming for any specific amount. I'm just kind of putting a pinch from my hand in each of them here. A generous amount, if I will say, probably, I don't know, 5, 10 sometimes. Is it the right way to do it? I don't know, probably not. Am I wasting seeds? Probably so. But again, this is all in the name of fun, and nothing's too serious. So we can put as many seeds as we want in each hole. Whew, almost fell over there. It's the heat must be getting me. Next up is hot jalapenos. Summer staple. And I like to use jalapenos in pretty much everything. I like to eat them raw in my salads. I obviously like to eat them fresh. And I obviously like to eat them cooked in things like stir fries and Mexican food. And I also like to cut them open and make like poppers and stuff sometimes. So there's really a million different reasons that you can enjoy jalapenos. I just really love the flavor of them, which is good because now we've got them in the garden ready to grow. Did I mention that a pro tip of using this fertilizer on our seeds as we sow them is that we can easily see where we've planted in this bed? I mean, it's not the reason for this stuff, but it is definitely a helpful little tool. And I have to say that I quite enjoy the smell of this organic fertilizer. It kind of has like a, this is probably the wrong word to use, but almost like an alfalfa, like a sweet alfalfa kind of smell to it. It's got like, it's fresh but in a farm floor kind of way. Does that make sense? So next up, if I didn't mention that cauliflower is my favorite vegetable, and I didn't mention that Brussels sprouts were a close second favorite, and I didn't mention that the jalapenos over there were one of my favorite peppers, and I also didn't mention that the radishes over there are one of my absolute favorite peppers. Well, you won't be shocked to know that Parson gherkin cucumbers, regular old cucumbers, are my absolute favorite vegetable. Slice up some cucumbers, put them in a bowl, slice up some onions, put it in a bowl, put some pepper, maybe some salt, a little white vinegar on that, throw it in the fridge for about an hour, and my God, you have got the best southern dish that you've ever had. And I'm from Canada, and believe it or not, I used to eat that dish in Canada. It wasn't until I moved down here to North Carolina that I realized that it was actually a southern dish. It wasn't until I moved down here to South Carolina that I realized that it was actually a southern dish. And I feel like it's been calling my name my entire life. But enough ranting about cucumbers. I want to get a lot of these in the garden. In fact, I've got my eye on a couple little stands and stuff that we're going to use to support these cucumbers as they grow. So I think I'm just going to fill in this entire space. This was the entire pack. So let's try and spread this out among all of these holes in this front row that I just dug out for them. May have to go a little less than my typical just toss of seeds into the holes here, but I am still kind of going flippantly. Sometimes it's fun if you make up words like flippantly. So next up on the list is one of those impulse buys where I saw a YouTube video. I saw a person talking about them and I had to get some and try them for myself. These are cucamelons, or Mexican sour gherkins. Apparently these cucamelons are sort of like a mixture between a cucumber and like a lime or something like that. So they've got sort of like a snap. They're about like grape size. So it's something you can just kind of pluck off the vine and pop into your mouth and enjoy as a snack. If you saw my previous video where I did sort of like a property tour and kind of walked you around the food forest, or what will become the food forest here, you might remember me talking about how one of the big motivational factors for me, one of the big dreams that I have with this whole food forest, is to be able to just sort of wander along and graze. I think you probably get my point. What I'm really dreaming about doing in this food forest is just, you know, walking down the paths, plucking little things off, and basically grazing and snacking, and maybe even having a meal every time I walk through the garden. So we're gonna plant a little patch of our cucamelons right here in the middle. So these are pretty cool. They kind of look like a miniature version of cucumbers. Did I mention that I love miniature things? So there's our little cucamelon patch. As usual, we're gonna hit it with some fertilizer. A good healthy amount on top of every hole. You really can't go wrong with this stuff. I mean, I could cover the whole bed in this stuff if I wanted to waste money. Okay, so we've got 2 seed packets left to go. The next one that I'm gonna put in the ground is gonna be right here behind me. I've actually got a little struggling watermelon plant right in the corner of the garden right there. So I thought it was only fitting to put some just regular Charentes. Charentes, is that how you say that? Anyways, they're melons, and I'm gonna put them right over here. My daughter loves melons. I'm not gonna put too many of these because I don't need a ridiculous amount of melons, but I think I'm gonna dig maybe 6 holes. And there we go. Plenty of melon seeds left for another harvest down the road as well. So I don't have much, but on my way to plant our last batch of seeds, I do want to show you a ripe cherry tomato that I've got on this plant right here. And if I didn't say I loved cucumbers enough, well, tomatoes are a second close, almost tied with the amazingness of cucumbers. In fact, I am going to tie them with the amazingness of cucumbers, because in addition to the onions and the cucumbers and the vinegar that I put in those salads, I also like to throw some cherry tomatoes once in a while. So for our last seed pack, we got something simple. It's not a vegetable. It's just going to be something to sort of be beautiful and then fill in the space in the middle of all those fruit trees there. I got just a little pack of some wildflower seeds. So I'm not going to go crazy with trying to dig holes and all that stuff. In fact, I'm just going to kind of spread them around just like that. Maybe we can get up here and just sort of randomly distribute wildflower seeds all over this whole area right here. And now I'm just going to sort of run my hand over the top of all of this just to sort of give them a little bit of a bury in the ground. I'm going to use the rest of this bag. This wasn't the only bag that came in that big box, by the way. This was just one of like 4. But I'm going to use the rest of this bag to just kind of distribute amongst the bed here over our wildflower seeds and give them a little bit of love as well. The most important thing to do after you sow your seeds, of course, is give those seeds some moisture. I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, but seeds germinate when they have moisture around them. They need kind of that wetness. They need that really humid environment that's created right under that soil layer that we kind of put back over top of them as we sowed them into the bed here. I like to think about the watering phase as sort of the home warming party for these seeds. They've already been stuck into some random new place. They've been given some food through our fertilizer on the top of the soil, and now this water will just sort of let them know that they found the right spot to grow. One other bonus benefit of the watering phase after you sow your seeds, especially on a hot day like it was today, and especially if you have short gray hair like I do, you can always just kind of bend over and cool yourself off a little bit. I hope this water doesn't soak down into my microphone and wreck it. And that is it. That is the seeds that I'm sowing in my little starter food forest in the beginning of July down here in North Carolina. I know it's a little bit late in the summer to be starting some of these seeds, but again, the whole point of this project is to just start adding life to the beds that we're creating in the food forest back here. We don't want that dirt sitting empty. We don't want it just drying out and becoming nothing. We want to fill it with life. We want to fill it with moisture. We want to fill it with plants and roots and all sorts of stuff so that we can continue to make that soil better and better for years and years to come. And in the meantime, we've got all sorts of other projects to do too. We've got more beds to build around here. We've got strawberry plants. I've got strawberry plants coming in the mail that we're going to be doing something with on that little berm hill over there by the loquat tree. We've got a whole greenhouse right over there that I've got to put my snap peas in. I'm proud to say that we finally got, besides our fruit trees, we finally got some life in that first bed that I dug back there. And that's pretty much all I got to say. If you're enjoying my food forest journey, subscribe so you can see more, so we can work on more projects together and do all sorts of fun, garden-y, connecting with nature stuff together. All right, I'll see you on the next one.